Welcome to the 36 Chambers of Fatherhood. I am your co-host, Scoob. I'm going to swing it to my other co-host.
Yeah, it's the world's most celebrated father. They call me Old Head Wildin'. Pass it off to my fellow man right here.
When we try again to Josh, aka Papa Josh, for this episode.
Hey, and then I'm going to swing it over to our engineer, Steve. Introduce yourself, please. Hey, the cool move. The Fonzie.
Somebody got it.
Man, there you go. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the fade or the timeout. Now, first off, this is 36 Chambers of Fatherhood, where we will be discussing
Discussing
the education of, fatherhood, the trials and tribulations. So today is going to be the fade or the timeout. Which do you choose? So to start it off, we're going to be talking about how ass whooping affected each and every one of us. So we're going to be listening to some awesome stories from everyone. I'll go last. How about Sean? Set it off, baby.
He want me to set it off.
Set it off. How they set you straight, bro.
They want the groovy one to set it off.
Now, first we're just to lay down what we're doing here. We're gonna be talking about the fade, and for those who don't know, please, Sean, explain what the fade is.
Okay, for if you've been living under a rock for 100 years or whatever, the fade means just what it means: putting hands on you. You know, getting these hands. The timeout, you already know what that is. Get in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Put the dunce cap on. Live righteous. You know what I'm saying? Think about your actions.
Now, growing up, did you get a fade or a timeout?
I got lots of fades. See, in the 80s, this right here, as you see on the table, this Ballantine Ale, this was in the house between that and OE. And I ain't putting my pops on blast, but old man was crazy. So, in the 80s, discipline and punishment were meshed together because they're two different things. Discipline is the order, it's the focus, it's the everybody in the family is in line with one common goal. The punishment is you don't get your ass busted if you don't take out that garbage like I said. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. So
tell us about a fade that you remember that set you straight, or just that kind of vividly comes out to you that you learned a lesson from it. Because really, the fade is you're supposed to learn a lesson from what you did wrong as a child. So bring us to that point where you caught a fade or a timeout, whatever memory serves you best.
But like I said, fades wasn't even thought about back then. Not fades. I apologize. Timeouts wasn't even thought about back then. The fade I remember the most, it was 1986. I was tripping. Actually not 1986, 1985, because I was 10 years old then. I was staying with my dad and my stepmoms at the time, his second wife, and I went downstairs with one of these kids. Not one of these kids, this kid that lived in the building I became cool with. We outside and, I went to his place. Now, I messed up by not telling my dad where I was going. That's number one.
Okay.
So, cool. So I go to the kid crib, whatever. He lived in the same building. All right, so I come downstairs with the kid. Now, I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I was in my young knucklehead mode. I started picking up these like rocks and started throwing it at this lady window that had a cat. Unnoticed, little did I know, my dad was looking down at me doing this. All right, so I'm thinking I'm just, I'm having fun, doing the things I shouldn't be doing. Okay, I go to the kid crib again. So now when I leave, my dad is coming up the stairs, and the kid I was with was like, yo, nigga, your dad? I was like, where? I seen him coming up the stairs. Yo, your man hit me in the bread basket so crazy. Like, all I could do was just drop to the floor. And he was just like, yo, get upstairs. The other kid, that I was with, he just bounced. But he ran and told my stepsister because she was down on the corner. He ran and told her what happened. So we get in the crib. Yo, your man fixed me up so nicely, B, because number one, I didn't tell him where I was going. You understand? See, as a parent, you always supposed to tell your kid. As a parent, as a child, you're supposed to let your parents know where are you making moves because your parents don't know these people,
especially in 1985,
and especially in that time.
Before
So that, before cell phones and all that stuff. So I was wilding out. So other shit happened. Excuse my French, we can't curse. Right?
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah.
Other stuff happened that I can't really, indulge in. I have to tell y'all this story off the show because really, to tell you the truth, only one person really knows this, and that's my boy Tone, God rest. It was crazy because I'll tell you how crazy it is. I happened to link up with my stepsister. I don't know, years later, like early 2010. And the first thing she said to me when she got on the phone, oh shit, Sean, oh my God, where you been? Da 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 da. The next line was her busting out laughing. Was like, yo, remember when your pops did that to you, B? And that's how crazy it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, it had that lasting effect, So, out of all the ass whippings or whatever I got, that was the most. But that was like the last time my dad ever put hands on me, to tell you the truth, because, he changed his ways, and he doesn't think like that. And he's still in my life. And as he teach me still, I'm 42 years old, and he's still teaching me. He said, listen, you got your kids now. Don't do what we did back then, because we were crazy back in the 80s. In the 80s, it was like we were thinking of things that, that was just crazy to discipline the children. Because remember what I said, discipline and punishment were the same in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? And probably further back, even in their time when they were young. You understand? So, how did it affect me now? I think I'm crazy. I think I want to do the same thing tonight. Let me stop. I don't want to do the same thing because I got all girls. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So he usually tells me, yo, you gotta talk to your kids. Even my wife. My wife, if you let her tell it, she'll be like, you're so damn militant. Everything is off with your head. You go from 0 to 100. If you're talking to your child more than twice, yeah, they deserve to get their head knocked off.
But yeah, we're gonna get into that. Okay. We're gonna get into that. I want to hear everybody's stories about because we're gonna get into that.
I'm gonna go in, baby.
Yeah,
we got the Valentine Ale on deck. We going in.
We're gonna get into that. Yo, Steve, our engineer. Can you think of a time that you got fixed up, as Sean would say?
Fixed up, yeah.
Fixed
up.
Put
the suit on, suit and the tie.
Yeah, suit and the tie, my ass.
Superman was alive. Okay.
Yeah. So at the time, but it was something that sticks out to you as an adult. And did you learn anything from it?
So this is actually going to be a more of a broad story, like an epic story, because I actually didn't get a lot of ass whoopings when I was a kid.
Okay.
Because I was a good kid. No, it's not that. But let me explain. So the thing is, my father was like a drill sergeant, right? And he ruled by fear. So it was almost like he didn't have to put hands on you. It was just the threat that he would. Now, that is in my case, right? But my brothers and whatnot had very different experiences with that. But when I was younger, I was a little sickly, so I didn't get them hands like that.
Yeah.
But what I will say, it was always this thing, right? We all knew, it was 4 of us growing up, and we all knew that, if moms is putting hands on you, it's really a joke, and all you got to do is pretend like you crying and she'll stop, right? But if pops was putting hands on you, it was a fight. Like it was, he came there ready to knuckle up, but thing was, I just as a kid, I just had this thing, and I don't know where it came from. With me and him, I'm like, I'm not gonna let you see me cry, right? And so I remember the last time I got fixed up. You know, I was 16 and I was working at this time, and I had been working since I was 13, packing bags, doing all those other things. But my pops was like, you know what, you need to learn some responsibility. So everything you make, I need a cut. He was on his Michael Corleone, right?
Yeah,
well, not even Michael
10%.
Corleone. He was the king of New York.
Yeah, we need 10%.
I mean? A dime bag gets sold in the park, and he wants it.
He was on his Frank White, his Frank White groove, huh?
Yeah. So I'm over here thinking, because he's like, yo, you living here rent free, you don't pay for food, you don't do nothing, and you just going, and I gotta pay bills for you, so you're gonna have to come out your pocket. You working, you gotta learn how to be a responsible man.
Yeah.
So he told me this, and I made the worst mistake ever in life. I hit him with the
sucking your teeth.
Yeah, half a second later, pow, right? And then he got the belt and he was going in, and I knew he would have stopped, but I wasn't gonna let him see me cry because I thought I was a man grown, as George R.R. Martin would call it. I'm reading the Game of Thrones book. That's another argument. But my point is, I thought I was a grown man, so I wouldn't let him see me cry. I don't let nobody see me cry. So it went on until he got tired, right? And as soon as he went away and he calmed down or whatever, that's when I go to my room. That's when the waterworks start. And I was like, you know what? He didn't see me cry. And what did I learn from that whole thing is you got to be responsible, right? Because what he was saying was right. But at the time, you know, you just working, you want to keep your money for yourself. But I learned that as a man, you got to be responsible. You got to learn to save. You got to pay your bills. You don't, none of this shit is free. You know, so even today, right now with my son, he just got his first job. And I mean, I'm not doing the same thing because my pops was putting it towards house bills, which he was supposed to.
Of course.
But right now, I make my son save 20% of his check, and it is just for savings and starting a retirement account early at 16.
Boom.
But that was really, it came from the same lesson my pops was trying to teach me. I wish he knew about the stock market, but that's a whole other shit.
So that was Steve's story. I'm gonna set it off. We're gonna do like round. Is that cool? I got you, baby. So one of my ass whoopings actually didn't come from my dad. My dad, whenever we would talk about his childhood, he said that from his perspective, he used to get hit a lot, and that's something that he didn't want to do with me. And my mother didn't hit me at all. I used to get punished. Of course, you know, a spanking here and there if I got out of control. But like you, Steve, I wasn't really like wild in my early years of like, let's say 5 through 10 or so. But my family, my mom and my stepdad, we moved upstate, so I would never do good in school. You know what I'm saying? That was my thing. I didn't like school. I would do schoolwork, but I didn't like going home to do work. Home is my time. I don't want to mess with that. So it was Halloween, and I was punished. So I'm thinking like, yo, it's Halloween. Like, come on, you gotta let me rock. So I didn't have that conversation with my mother. So she was at work, and my cousins, they were getting ready to get dressed and everything. I just came home from school. Everybody's like, yo, I'm gonna catch you outside. Yeah. We going ding dong ditch, get all this candy. So I'm like, I want in on the action. So my cousins are getting ready. I'm like, yo, I'm going out. And they're like, yo, aren't you punished? I was like, what? Yeah, I'll be right back. You know, don't worry about it. You know? So I dipped out. I linked up with a few of my friends. At the time, our development, our neighborhood, there was like probably like 2,000, 2,500 kids outside. Everybody, you know, trick-or-treating, getting into whatever kinds of mess. I got into something where I probably threw a shaving cream at somebody or something crazy, and my name came out, right? So my, you know, unknowing to me, I'm outside having a ball, and my mom comes home early. So my mom's like, "Where's Adam?" And everyone was like, "Yo, Adam went outside to go trick-or-treating." And she's tight because I'm punished. I'm supposed to go home, do my homework, and that's it. I went home, I did. So she's mad. She goes outside looking for me. She sees a friend of mine, and she goes, "Hey, have you seen Adam?" I don't know, but the cops are actually looking for Adam. And that's a different story. Yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Snitching, yeah, crazy. So he's
Yeah.
snitching. So that's a different
Stop
story.
snitching t-shirts.
Yeah, yo, crazy. How you gonna tell somebody's mom that? But whatever. So now, not only is she mad, but she's also scared and fearful. So I remember we were on a hill, and it was like a dozen of my friends. Like everybody was outside, and we're all chilling. Everybody's having a ball. Yo, throwing eggs because it was dark, so we were in the cut. You threw an egg in our neighborhood, and at that time in Halloween, you could catch anybody pretty much. Yeah, Josh knows. So I'm chilling, and I just hear Adam. I look like yo, who's calling me by my government?
dude.
You know what I'm saying? Because I go by school. You know what
Right
I'm
on
saying?
you.
I'm like, damn, yo, who's calling me by my government? I look, and I see my mom. I was like, oh shit, yo, my mom came in. My mom, just so we're clear, my mom rarely, when I say rarely hit me. I've never seen my mother that angry at me. She whooped my ass from the bottom of the block all the way into my cousin's house, right? My stepfather's mother's house, whooping me. Bow, 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 hitting me across
in front of everybody.
In front of everybody. Everybody in my school knew about this. Everyone said, "Damn, you saw school get his ass whooped by his mom." And the crazy part is that my mom was so cool with everybody. This was like something different that everybody saw. So obviously, the lesson that I got from that is that I was 12 years old. I ain't no man. I'm making over here decisions for myself, not speaking to my mom and telling her. And
you
hey,
was set tripping, B.
That set tripping crazy, yeah. I was
out
out
there
getting
throwing eggs and shit,
Yeah.
wilding, you know what I mean? You deserve to get fixed up and get caught. You know
I got
saying?
fixed. I got fixed in front of everybody.
That could have happened today, like with the and the only reason
That's
asked
a good point.
Because like another reason I say like I was a good kid, I wasn't a good kid. I grew up in fear, right? Because my pops was a taxi driver.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked in the neighborhood, so I could just never be outside for fear. Like I would never dare cut school, right? Because he could have just rolled up on you just out of being at work, and he would have jumped out his car and put hands on you. So, but I say all of that to say there's a time in those days where a parent could fix the kids up. Yeah, everybody just knows. Everybody
and also
goes back in their house.
Just to say this, that I'm not to put anybody out, but like I'm 29 years old. So at that time I'm 12. This was like probably like 2001 or so. And one part of the story, I'm getting fixed up all the way up from up the block to the house, and the cop says, hey, ma'am, you need to relax. She's like, this is my son, and he's supposed to be at home. And he didn't really have an argument with her, and he was like, "Oh, my bad,
back up.
Let me back up."
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like the discipline and the punishment, it was together. You understand? Back then, that's what I'm saying. Like,
so just
somebody
to move forward,
called somebody in today's world.
Of course, I would have been easily on World Star. Just so we're clear. Yeah. But Josh, Josh's mom is the sweetest lady ever. It's very sweet.
She light skinned black. She's sweet.
So whatever he's saying, dead ass, I don't believe it. But no, I'm joking. Go ahead.
Alright. I used to get beat all the time, because like me, I used to be like a talker. Oh, appreciate you, brother. Like pulse. So like the only time my mom's actually like hit me with like her hands was like one time. It was like the same type of situation. I was like, I lived on like one side of the town, and all of them lived in a big community called Whisper Hills, right? So I went over there, and I don't think it was Halloween. I think we were playing like Manhunt or something.
Oh, classic Manhunt.
I don't know what we were playing, Manhunt or something. And that turned into like, we was, I think somebody was doing eggs or something for no reason.
Yeah, the Hills, baby. That's how we do.
Going in, right? Yeah, we was going in. We was just young and reckless for no reason. We wasn't bad kids. We was just bored. You know what I'm saying? So, the joint, what happened? So the cops come, right? So we, you take off. Like, everybody just take off. I'm running. So, I'm a big nigga. So, like, I run at an inch quick. So they got me, right? I'm running. Niggas caught me, right? Niggas like took my name down, whatever. And I'm like, fuck these niggas. Like, they ain't gonna call. It was like, yeah, we gonna get to contact your parents. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It was like, you live here? I was like, you don't live here. Go home, right? So I walk back home, whatever. And I'm thinking it's all good. So the next day, my mom comes in, and she ain't say nothing. Like, usually she'd be like, hey, Josh, how was your day? She was like, she was upset. So I'm like, whatever. I'm just chilling. Like, you know what I mean? In my room listening to music. She gets undressed. Like anybody know, like with black parents, they gotta get comfortable first before they. You know what I mean? They make you. It's all good. Like yo, it's like how you doing? Everything's good. I'll be right back.
That's the setup. When even when your girl or your wife asks you how was your day,
Right.
You know,
Yeah, you know what's coming.
Something ain't
She
good.
gotta get comfortable first. So my mom come. She like an hour passed. She done took a shower. So I'm chilling. I'm not even thinking about like the cop shit. I'm like, this is another day, right? Yo, she come on. She said, anything happened the other day? I said, nah. What you mean? She was like, tell me the truth, Joshua. I'm like, well, now I'm thinking like, damn.
You think about school.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, I get like, cause I used to get like in school detention all the time. So I'm like, nah, they don't usually call for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, she told me, she was like, I got an interesting phone call today at work. She was like, officer, whatever his name was.
Oh my gosh.
Said that you were acting disorderly and something, right? And so all I did was, all I remember is that when she said that, I went like this. Like, I just raised my hand like, oh, like, right? My mom said, I literally see my mom move to the side like this on some Tyson shit. 3-piece me with a biscuit, right? 3-piece me with a biscuit, and I was shocked, right? So, like, the initial hit, like, I got hit in the face, so I'm like, what happened? And my mom was mad short, so she's like this, hitting me. I'm like, Mom, what you doing? She was like, oh, you trying to hit me? You trying to raise your hand to me? Now, she thought I was like, kind of like, I guess going like, putting my hands up, but really, I would just grab my face like, oh, yo, here we go. I know I'm about to hit you.
She hit you with that custom model thought.
Word.
Them lessons.
But you ever,
3, 2, 1 on you.
Right? So, like, my mom huffing and puffing. So, yeah, that shit was crazy, but, like, and then, like, she was, like, telling me to go to my room, but, yeah, I used to get, like whoopings all the time for, like, acting up, doing dumb shit. But that was the one time that, like, she 3-pieced me. What I learned from that is, yo, keep your motherfucking hands down when authorities
around. yo. So it's a good point. Now coming from all that, like, as far as, like, you know, we all got fixed up at some point in our childhood, obviously. But like, how do you do that in your household? Like, who's the disciplinary in your household? Because it's you, your wife, and then, you know, the children involved. So when someone gets crazy, whether it's, you know, your younger child and we'll get into the other stuff, but the older children, you know, who's the set tripper?
I think it's a combination of both in my house. Like, my wife, because my situation is unique because I have stepdaughters, 16 and 13, and a 3-year-old, and, you know, me and my wife had. So when it comes to my 3, now that she's 3, she's trying to test the waters with us, and, you know, she's becoming defiant. So every now and then I gotta let her know, like, who's who. So as far as the discipline goes, you know, I really gotta say my wife. She go there because it's not like I could come in the house, go upside my, you know, daughter's head like that for, you know, set tripping, you know, talking crazy or just not doing things right now. It's really unique for me, you know, but for my 3-year-old, yes, because she's 3, she has, for me, you know, a lot of people would disagree. Well, no, you shouldn't, you know, resort to the physical, but the era that I came up in, that's just what it was. You know what I'm saying? Your parents, they gave you a time limit. They gave you enough rope to hang yourself before they clobbered you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is for me. Because I'm not going to wait till my daughter gets 15 years old and then try to check her for doing something, you know, out of pocket. I'm going to let her know now. So that way, it almost goes back to what you said about the whole fear situation.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
it's
yes.
the idea that it could go down.
Right. You know, and I always want, you know, like I was at work the other day. I'm gonna just make this quick. I was at work the other day, and I could hear the lady conversation on the phone when her daughter says, "Hey, bitch, what's up?"
The daughter said that to
the daughter said it to mom because the moms hung up, and I knew I heard it, and I wasn't bugging, and the moms like clarified it. I'm doing what I do, and the lady got off the phone and she said, my daughter, crazy. I said, how was your daughter? She said, 21 years old. You hear she on the phone talking about something. What's up, bitch? What's up, bitch? I couldn't like, you know what I'm saying? Could you imagine? Like, I couldn't even answer to my pops.
Right now,
talking to my pops, talking about something. What's up, nigga?
Honestly,
like, what?
It's out of control.
My pops wouldn't
like
say that, but
like
that's more acceptable than the daughter saying to the mother.
What's up?
I couldn't even imagine my daughter saying that to her mother.
Yeah, or to her sister. What's good, my bitch?
Yeah, like it would go down in the crib. So, like I said, to make a long story short, the discipline and the punishment is kind of it's like a seesaw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because sometimes my wife, she wants me to step in and do a little bit of discipline. Like my oldest daughter, one time she was out of line, and I couldn't physically do nothing to her. So what I did was I took her to the park, and I made her work out until she couldn't work no more.
Because she plays ball.
Well, no, that's the older one. This is the older one.
Okay, all right.
I made her run the hills. I made her do mad push-ups, mad dips, mad just everything, so dumbbells. Cool, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
As a, you know, when she said the words, "Can we stop?" I'm like, "Now we can't stop because you won't stop.
Mm-hmm.
You won't stop. You know, doing what your mom's is how should I say it? Your mom's is telling you to do something and you just won't stop doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
No, that's pretty.
It's just a balance. It's a seesaw in a house.
That's pretty interesting because in my household it's more so, and she'll laugh at this when she says it, but it's my wife. You know what I'm saying? Because my wife is, I wouldn't say she's hardcore, but it's just pretty much do what you're told and then that's it. And at the same, yeah. But the funny thing is she doesn't resort to spanking right away. That's the funny thing about her. But she has this tongue lashing of like, you know, she'll say something in that pitch, or she'll fix you up as far as like, you know, hey, you need to be punished or you need to be placed here. Me, I'm not necessarily the disciplinary in that sense, even though there are times that I have to, you know, lay down the law with both of my children. I have a 5-year-old and I have a 2-year-old. My oldest, you know, they love me so much, so like they always want to play, they always want to do this, they always want to do that. So sometimes they get a little crazy as far as like when it's time to take a bath, or when it's time to sit down and eat, or when it's time for you to be quiet and go to your room and go to sleep. So that's the where I resort to as far as disciplinary action, where you know I'm gonna raise my voice. I'm gonna warn you before it happens. So I may raise my voice twice, and then if you still, you know, around me or doing what you weren't supposed to do, then spanking, you know, comes in. But it's always that one whack just to create fear. Just like, oh, you know, just the wake up call. Like, oh, hey, hold on. You know what I'm saying? Let me go. Yeah, the shock and I always do the footsteps too. You know, let me get my things together. You know what I'm saying? You know? So when I start doing that, they're like, you know, they start booking it. You're like, oh damn, I don't want to get a bow, or you know, that's what we call it. So that's pretty much it's. Wife is disciplinary as far as like, she remembers things and holds on to that memory of how you messed up. You know what I'm saying?
Does she do that with you too?
Hey man, that's hey man.
That's another show.
Don't be putting me out there, alright?
You get it together.
Yeah,
that shit don't even stop.
I remember that. My mom's had a big joint like this.
That's how she used to get you. That's how. No. But as far as like, that's how she used to warn you. Like, yeah, it's coming.
No, my mom said, like he talked about a look, right? My mom's be like,
damn, then that's when you know.
She would fix her face like no body movement, just look at me. I'm like, tonight is over.
So she would give you the warning and the ass whipping at the same time.
It's not gonna be just warning. Oh, it's coming.
The pain train.
They don't left the station already.
That's the joint when you read the books and it's like, your life is forfeit. It's just, the question is like how bad you want to die.
And what you do, right? You try to be extra good that day.
Right.
No matter.
Or you go to sleep early.
Yo, it's time.
Let me ask you a question. So like, I know in my house, because both of my parents was there when I grew up, like it was this good cop, bad cop thing, right? Where it was like the moms would like, not saying she didn't put hands on nobody, but we was never really worried about that because it would just be a little, you know what I'm saying? But if the threat was wait till your father come home, I'm gonna tell him, that's when everybody straighten up, start cleaning up the house, doing dishes. They ain't even no dishes in the sink. You just wipe the same spot on the counter like 10 times. So I know you said that you are kind of the nice guy. Are you the good cop in the good cop, bad cop situation?
It depends on the situation because certain situations rise up where she doesn't really say anything and she lets me handle it. And then when she does it, you know, I let her cook and just be like, all right, cool. You know, she handled that. But when she says, you know, I'm going to tell your father about something the 5-year-old did, because the 2-year-old, you know, he's in his own world. You know, he's not at that stage yet. But as far as the 5-year-old is concerned, I think when he gets upset or, you know, he's like, damn, like, yo, my dad is gonna know. It's almost like a sense of like, damn, you know, I don't want to disappoint him. You get what I'm saying?
It's not fear.
It's not necessarily fear. The fear comes when I'm like, hey, yo, stop. Hey, listen, stop. Hey, I told you to stop, and let me get my. And then he's like, oh wait, hold on, wait, and then that's when he's out. You know what I'm saying? And then yeah. So I don't necessarily want to. I don't necessarily want to hit him with the wake up call.
Yeah.
But when he's close for that wake up call, like I don't smack him across the face or anything like that. That's crazy. But I'll catch him in the buttocks, and then your man's like, hey, let me go and do what I was supposed to do.
That's old school ass whooping terminology. You can't hit him where it's gonna leave marks.
Damn.
Nah, but see. But
that's a disrespectful part because like if you're gonna hit and we're going a little off topic, but if you're gonna spank your child across the face, now you're almost inviting them to get hit in the face all the time outside of the household. You get what I'm saying? It's your face, everything here is personal. You know what I'm saying? My stepdad used to say if anybody gets 3 feet, you know, from your space, that's when you hit them hard. You know, as far as beef is concerned. But now, when you get hit in your face all the time, you're just almost like, hey, whatever. You know, like boxers. You know, boxers could, you know, keep their hands down, and they used to getting hit around, so you know they're ready for that. And with a child, you don't want to necessarily get them ready for that. In my opinion, this is my humble pie. That's me.
I don't know, man.
I do the knock upside the head, like, hey, wake up. You know what I'm saying?
Like I said before, and when I was younger, those rules that you talk about now. That shit didn't apply because I got hit in the eye with a belt buckle.
Damn.
Belt buckle.
And a belt buckle. And I had to go to school with the black eye game. You know what I'm saying? Now, see, like I said before, in the 80s was different. I come to school with a black eye. Nobody raised a fit. You come to school with a black eye now. Somebody getting called.
Oh, yeah.
They coming up. You're going to see a lot of vanilla trench coats in your crib. What's good?
Holding coffee cups. Like,
what's good?
In the 80s,
get the kids.
In the 80s, they might come to you and ask you about the black eye, but then you'll say, no. My mom's did it. They'll be like, oh, okay.
Oh, you're good. So you got caught up, right? Sweet.
Yeah.
But talking about that, I want to know how. Well, you told us how you discipline a teenager, and as a stepfather, which I'm gonna come to you about. Everybody, Josh is our designated stepdad. For this show. Fake stepdad.
He's a father figure.
He's a father figure.
That's
So ladies, you know, he's single, just to put that out there.
Single and love the jiggle and
go. But Steve, as far as Sean showed us told us about one situation, how he disciplines a teenager. How do you go about disciplining your teenage son? And also, just so we could give a real round of applause real quick for my man Steve, because Steve is holding things down as a single dad of a 16-year-old boy. So give it up to him. Now, how do you go about disciplining Junior?
All right, so this is actually a funny story. So my son came to start living with me 8 years old. When he came to live with me first, without getting into too many details, I was like, I'm not putting hands, right? But then, you know, a couple of months into it, it was like, okay, this kid's taking advantage of that, right? But the key was understanding like that when I grew up, I think I actually benefited from having nurturer and the disciplinary, right? Because even if you got fixed up, as we calling it, right? The fade, right?
The fade.
Mom was always right there to hug you afterwards. So you actually learned the lesson, and you knew it was still all love because you got the hug when you crying. So, but being that it's just me, I had to come to understand that I got to play both those roles, right? Because it can't always be about, even if the kid's messing up all the time, it can't always be about like you yelling at them all the time or you putting in anger, because they're gonna feel like they're always under attack, and that's not good for self-esteem. It's not good for any number of things in life. And again, like we said, that may be how they will grow up, thinking how you handle things in the world by using your hands. So knowing that, and I read this real good book by Dr. Juwanzu Kunjufu. I probably ruined his name, but it's called Raising Black Boys, and there's a whole couple of chapters in there about discipline, and I took some pages from that chapter. And the main thing that he said was, if discipline needs to be about instruction. If you're doing it out of anger, just because like, oh, the kid messed up and you mad at him, they're gonna learn that you just handle things angry. So if they understand that this is happening because they broke certain rules, then they'll understand why you're doing it. Now, with all that out the way, here's my method. You get 3 chances, right? The first
for the same problem,
for the same offense.
Okay.
So the first one is a warning, like meaning I got a call from the school, or you came home late, or you came out your face, whatever. The first one, that's all right. I'm gonna take that one. But remember, we only gonna talk about this one more time. Second time is your last warning. You don't get no hands yet. And you set these rules out from the rip. But the third time on the same offense, that's when you get hemmed up, right? And so what I do with Junior, I will make him send me a video message saying that, okay, I will not, like, let's say the school calls me and said he was disrupting class. I will not disrupt the class again. And if I do on the 3rd time, it's not going to be any words, right? So, first time you got the warning, you recorded the video. Second time, this is your last warning. Remember, I'm not making these rules here. The 3rd time, I play back the video, and then I'll be like, I'll be back in an hour. Because, again, the key is you're showing them you're not doing this out of anger. This is punitive action for something you did, and you set these rules. So I play back the video, and then you let them stew for an hour. And then you come in there with the belt, and you go to work. And honestly, I don't even really have to do that at this stage. A lot of the times now, we really have these conversations, right? Because, you know, when a child is too young to be reasoned with, you got to let them know, because that's what they'll understand. But as they get older and they become teenagers, you could kind of explain these things through life. So this is not really a thing I've had to do in a long time, but I still make him record those videos.
Because now he thinks about it, like,
right?
well,
Because
and
again, this is you. You recorded
right there. That's ill.
You recorded the video. You can't get mad at me at this point. And the thing is, you have to stay to your word, right? They're looking at that, and they're looking at you to essentially stand by what you doing. So if you say, well, on the 3rd time this is what's gonna happen, and you don't do it, then they don't have that level of respect.
Of course,
right?
Nah, it ain't gonna be that with me, man. I'm just gonna come in here with the bread basket.
The
bread hit him in the bread basket, like, yo. And then when he look up, why? Like, look at this video. Remember this you took? Remember this video you did? You know what I'm saying? What did you say? What did you say in the video? I will not be bad in school no more. Get out of breath, like,
honestly, if it ever happens,
hit him with the bread basket. Hit him with the rib shot.
Damn.
Just be like, good night. Get in the bed.
Nah, this guy doesn't have sons, so his daughters don't go through anything like that.
Nah,
So,
I'm fronting, because if I did that in the crib with my, the wife that I have, ooh, she'd be. Listen, she is about communication. That's what my wife. She's just she keeps drilling it in my head, like, yo, you gotta keep communicating, because she keeps bringing up me. She's saying, You ain't do the shit your parents, say you had to do. You was a knucklehead, and they had to keep talking to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You wasn't perfect,
Yeah.
so you got to keep doing the same thing, especially for the girls, because at the same time, you don't want them to grow up thinking that
men could touch them.
Men, but yes, and I do agree, and that's why I only give my 3-year-old a pop, the wake up call, like you said.
The wake up call.
I give him the wake up. I give him the wake up call. Wow. Just to let him know, like, yo, I'm not playing with you.
Yeah.
You think this is a game? You ain't gonna be defiant on me.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you're not gonna be. If you're a defiant 3-year-old toddler now, and I don't stop this, you're gonna be a defiant teenager. And I don't want to have to, battle that.
You bring up a good point, and we're gonna touch on Josh and how Josh goes about handling things. But there's an article from Fatherly. Fatherly is a blog website for fathers. It comes with some interesting.
I'm changing the narrative.
It's an interesting platform, and it's cool that we're talking about this now because they had a discipline week, and there was an article that said what exactly is the difference between discipline and punishment. So they said, there was a doctor, and I'm sorry I forget the doctor's name, but a quote was, if a parent threatens to punish a child, but the child engages in the behavior and the parent does not punish the child, the empty threat has become a reward. So just like how you doing it, I guess just how I'm doing it, we're giving you that warning of, if you continue messing up, the end result is not going to be kind to you. And it's not necessarily where, giving our children the fade, but we're punishing them. You know what I'm saying? We're punishing them for their mistakes, or I shouldn't say mistake. They are mistakes, but they're deliberately not listening. So therefore, you have to show them that there is authority. It is a challenge because we all challenge. We challenge our coworkers. We challenge our bosses. You know what I'm saying? We all do it, but we know that if we go a little too far, you're gonna get fired. You get what I'm saying?
Fixed up.
Yeah. That's your adult fix up. Right. But I really want to go into Josh and see how Josh goes about, disciplining a child
from a father figure perspective.
From a father figure perspective, you're with a woman, and she has a child, girl, or boy. How would you go about it, or give us an example of what you did in the past?
Me personally.
Oh. I like that.
No.
This shirt didn't get his name for no reason.
I was about to pass on the 40. Like,
look here, man. Your mom gonna be in the back for a while. Nah. Honestly, like from my experience, it's like a gray area because being a father figure or father, have you, the power kind of comes from mom. You're not exactly the parent, so you be the one to tell you oh, it's okay, what I'm saying, you're the man, tell him what he needs to hear, and or if he's acting up, by all means, right? And they'll say that, but if you snatch their child up, they might, whoa, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So and plus I've never been the type to really be forceful with a child like that. So for example, I had a situation. Say the son is acting up. My approach wouldn't be to directly chastise him or correct him. It would be you're not supposed to be doing that. If your mother was here doing that, no. All right then, come on, or come on, you're gonna be in trouble for. So it's almost like I gotta kind of I bounce off the mom's authority to implement my authority.
Give him wisdom.
Yeah, so I don't want to necessarily directly come at him because that's not how, you know what I'm saying? So even though the mother might say oh no, yeah, go ahead. At the end of the day, that's that little gray area with you know what I'm saying? Now it's different. Now it's dating. Now say if y'all got married and these are your children that you've been raising for whatever amount of years, the dynamic kind of changes because now y'all a family unit. But I feel as dating, that's not your place yet.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, not
yet. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It might get to that place, but for me, it's almost because a kid, I have one time a kid no, I'm not gonna do that. But then like say like this is when like in my position, this is when you gotta have that unity with your girl. Like she gotta back you up. Like so if I say like, oh listen, you can't do that because you're gonna get hurt or you're acting up in school. Like nah, don't go shoot basketball. Go for that.
Mm.
But come on. Nah,
It's quiet
go.
for that.
Right?
Yeah.
But then the mom would be like, would come behind me and be like, no, what did he say? And so if she's saying that, he automatic, oh, because they both working together.
Yeah.
Because he's looking at you like, you know, when you're an outside person coming into a situation like that, you're like the nice guy because you want to be liked, you want to be accepted. Right?
Goes back to what you said, the good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
so now you're like trying to be like the nice parental figure or male figure. So you're saying like, you know, it's all good, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like his mom will spaz out on him, and I might just be like, yo, listen. What happens when you do that, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, and, you know what I'm saying? So I'm more like
You more like Rodney and Baby Boy. Stop fronting.
Right,
baby.
right.
I was just about to say that.
Like,
Yeah, I said, fuck your fork, little
No, okay. No, but see now, see, I'm the other side of the coin because being single, I still happen to date like women with kids.
Yeah, how do you feel about well go tell us about how dating with women with kids, but then also how you feel a woman should treat your child, let's say if he stepped out of line, if you ever got into a serious situation.
Well, so two things. I think, and it's good that you brought up the movie Baby Boy. I am, when I'm dating a woman with children, I am more like Ving Rhames of Baby Boy. Right?
Don't tell me you be in the kitchen ass naked, B, cooking up eggs,
Hey,
B.
man.
Talk about something.
I don't
Pause.
Yeah, you were
Pause.
supposed to be with your daddy, man.
Right,
Yeah.
pause. You know what I'm saying? Cooking up eggs and shit.
I give you an example.
Hitting the Kool-Aid to the head.
The last of the Kool-Aid. No, but I'll give you an example. So I was dating a woman and she had a young kid, like 3 or 4 years old, and she used to spoil him rotten, right? Mm-hmm. And I always used to say to her, like, I think he's taking a little advantage here. So when we was out at the supermarket one time, and the little kid, he didn't know, like, he's just 3-4 years old, and he sees a person that's disabled, and he starts pointing and laughing, but I don't think he understood the person actually had a disability. Mm-hmm. So I had to not grab him up, but I just had to get down to one knee and be like, yo, don't ever do that again, like, in your life. Don't point at people like that out in public. Mm-hmm. And then there was another situation where it was bedtime or whatever, right? And this happened to be Valentine's Day, so that may have clouded some of why I said what I said. But essentially, every time it was bedtime after dinner, and he didn't want to go to bed, he would just start crying like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And then she would end up just kind of breaking down and giving him what he wants because, she's a single mother. She don't want to hear a
How old is the
crying.
kid?
The kid was like 3 or 4 years old.
Oh man, forget about it, dude.
Yeah. So I had to pull him up, and then he came to me and was like, can I use your phone? Right? Because he wanted to play the game on the phone. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo. And then she went to the room. I was just like, I'll tell you something. I'm not your mother. Right? Because he tried to start crying because I wouldn't give him the phone.
That's real
I was
right.
like, I don't got to give you nothing.
Real right.
You understand? And your mother's out there working hard, and she's telling you it's bedtime, and you don't want to go to bed. How you think that make her feel? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Tighten him up real quick. I didn't put my hands on him, but I just gave him the look.
The verbal action.
The fear of God look, and he tightened up real quick, got up straight, got up, picked up his toys, went to bed. She hit me with what you say to him? I said, don't worry about that.
Come sit down. Word. Come sit down over here.
It's the 14th.
Yeah,
okay.
Word up. That's
we ain't gotta do no Netflix and chill. It's all chill.
That's on God's speed right there. I like that.
I like that too. I like that too. I really do. Now, I know we were gonna reference a few joints from Fatherly. There was a few quotes and articles.
Come on, man. He know I'm itching for it, man.
Yeah.
I'm itching for it.
Set it off. Yo, go ahead. Set it off. Go ahead. I know you itching for it. Set it off. What bothered you about the Fatherly?
No.
And just so we're clear, we like Fatherly. We enjoy it. But of course, we're going to pick it apart. You know
yes. There was this one little quote that said, Black parents spank more often than white parents. And parents who spank usually are poor and less educated than parents who never spank. In other words, the divide is increasingly cultural as well as how we say it, ideological,
ideological.
ideological. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, how do y'all feel about that? We'll start it off with I'm gonna start with Steve because Steve has
Steve gave us a good point before we started off.
He has a good perspective on things at times. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's the thing. Firstly, in regards to fatherly, I just noticed I look at every article in this.
This is what Sean
Come on, run it to me right. Run it to me right.
It was only white people in the pictures, right? So are we talking about fathers or are we talking about white fathers? But that's neither here nor there.
No. See,
this medium is for all fathers, but
I want you to give the educated answer, and my brothers, we're gonna go around and see what everybody feel about that.
So here's the thing. The article kind of talks about I think they think that they are just looking at science and statistics. But as Obama would tell you, there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. You can use numbers to make it look like whatever you want to make, whatever your predisposition is. So in the article, they sort of talk about how poor people are more likely to beat their kids, and they talk about a little bit about breaking things down along lines of race. But the thing is, there are more, and I'm not even being political, right? Mm-hmm. But there is that perception that black people put their hands on kids more than any other race, and it's absolutely not true. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's the comedian's fault.
Right, exactly.
That's Monique's fault.
That's
Monique's fault.
Honestly, I do understand when they say, maybe less educated people would resort to putting hands on their kids. Also, not always true, but a lot of that falls under what they call coded language, right? So you code the language without specifically saying race, but you know what the misguided perceptions of people are. So when you say things like education and poor, a lot of people will think people that look like us here, when that's not really the case. Because I guarantee you, we could go to a lot of red states inside of these. In red states, that's all I'm gonna say. And they're doing the same things with their kids. They're treating their kids the same way. Now,
well, those are poor people. I'm making a joke.
But again, it all.
No, I'm about to get hypeful.
It all.
Those are poor people.
I mean the trash, right? No, I'm joking.
But no. It honestly, I think that when you're talking about physical discipline or corporal punishment, as they call it, you do have to understand that kids are watching what you do, and it doesn't matter what you say. And if you get them used to solving things with their hands, solving things out of anger, then they will be more likely to do those things, right? So you have to keep that in mind, right? But I would say there's some half truths.
Yes, I'm gonna go with Steve. I believe there are some half truths in there. As far as a perspective of when they spoke about people who don't have money compared to people that do have money. So let's just dial back on that. People who don't have money live in rougher neighborhoods. So maybe you're used to your first reaction to be the pop, right? Yeah. So when the first reaction is the pop for everybody in that neighborhood, then you're more that makes sense. Now, also, when I moved upstate, I grew up around a mixed culture. So I grew up with white kids, I grew up with black kids, I grew up with Hispanic kids. And one thing was certain for everyone, you messed up, your parents fixed you up. Right. I have two of my very good friends who are white, and I've watched their father fix him up. But it was a worthy fix up, and I watched it. You know what I'm saying? I watched it as he was a teenager, so it was a worthy fix up, and they respected him, and their dad is an amazing man. You know what I'm saying? And he gave him the fix. Next day was all love. You know what I'm saying? Because he came out of line. Same thing with my other friend. We were wilding out, throwing pumpkins at people's homes because there was a hill. I told you we grew up like in a development, and the hill was crazy. So the hill led to different homes. So
you throwing pumpkins?
Listen to this. We rolled them down the hill, and when you roll them down the hill, you're hitting one of those doors. So it was the door.
Deserved everything you got.
So it was the door and the screen. So we're rolling these joints, door, screen, and all. Boom, breaking them. Boom. So so we're doing that, and my friend, we were doing it in his neighborhood. So you know what I'm saying, we were wilding in his neighborhood. We were ding dong ditching, breaking everything around in his neighborhood. So when they pointed him as the guy of the neighborhood, like, yo, listen, your kid was doing this. His father, who again a very respectful man, fixed him up right in front of all of us. You know what I'm saying? Because it was deserving. Now both of those people, you have high middle class. You have it's just different genres of people. But at the same time, everybody got fixed up. You know what I'm saying? Regardless. So I think it just comes down to, I just think it comes down to parenting, man. So I'm going to go with Steve. I believe in half truth, but also I did witness, different things when I grew up. Because I didn't get fixed up like that, and we ain't acting like that.
I don't think money got to do with nothing. I think it's just upbringing, culture, and all that. I don't think money, because my mom has her side.
Oh, excuse me.
So, like, all my friends that I grew up with, especially when
and she got a mean 3-piece.
Yeah.
And she got a mean 3-piece.
She from the South.
And she's light skinned. Like just like everybody that lived in that neighborhood. Like, I came from Brooklyn, right? So, like, in that neighborhood.
I forgot you.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? So, like,
East the Brownsville, right?
No. I'm East Flatbush. I got family in Brownsville.
Okay.
But coming from that neighborhood, like y'all was saying, everybody was pretty much low income, right? But then we moved on up. It was a mix of everything. Everybody pretty much where we grew up at, like with school and all that, was pretty much middle class to up, right? Pretty much. Everybody got bills. Pretty much everybody. Right? So, like you said, I seen a mix of. I seen, like you said, white dudes get washed up worse than I would get washed up. You know what I'm saying? Like by my moms or Spanish, whatever. Girls, boy, I seen girls get smacked in their face for talking all that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I guess like that statement of money and all that. Like, I could be wrong because I never hung with nobody that's like their parent was a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that type of stuff, but that's like way out the. That's something else. That's like your parents never. They always find.
That's when they get you a whipping boy, so
yeah,
they don't put hands on you. They just find you a peasant.
What book is that from?
I mean, it's all over the medieval times, but I'm like I said, I'm reading them Game of Thrones books now, and so if the prince messes up, he has a stable boy that he's friends with, and so instead of beating the prince, they beat the stable boy in front of the prince.
Yeah.
Like, this is what you caused to happen.
Damn.
You too good to get hands.
You see what you did? You're gonna make me hit him again.
Damn.
Yeah, I seen that, Jay.
So so I think we could all agree. Now, Sean, you gave us your 2 cents or not? You said you wanted to see how we felt.
Yeah, I wanted to see how y'all felt about it. You know what I'm saying?
More than 2 cents.
No. I just wanted to see how y'all felt about that quick because we was laughing because I said to him about it over the phone, and he was like, "Nah,
you changed it.
I was trying to change the narrative. Like they said, yo, black poor people beat black people beat their kids because they poor. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to change it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know better than that. It wasn't really saying that, but I mean, even though, like you said, it could be coded. Like, yeah, we gonna slip that in there. Like,
absolutely.
Stick the knife in them slow.
Oh yeah.
And like you said. I mean, I ain't trying to shit on Fatherly though, but come on now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's not an eclectic group, man.
It's not. It's just I look at your Instagram and all I see is what's that?
Hipster dads.
hipster dads. I see Gerber babies. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, come on. But
that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
we're here to give you the raw.
We're here to give you the raw.
Just how the Wu came and gave hip hop raw. You know what I'm saying?
With
36 chambers.
Raw, man.
Yeah, it's just 36 chambers of fatherhood. So
Word
up.
I
got one more thing about that article, and at the very last paragraph, and this is talking with the one about the scientist. It says. Nonetheless, this guy, Marker, maintains that spanking is ineffective.
Oh.
Once you're punitive, kids stop thinking you're on their side, she says.
I quoted that too.
They want to feel that you're their backup here to help them. And I think that's a fundamental, I guess that's an ideology. I just don't, I think that thinking is fundamentally flawed because, yes, you there to back them up, but I can't back you up for foolishness. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of these people, they try to shelter their kids from what the real world is. Mm-hmm. Right. And, you're not your kid's friend. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. You are there to teach them morals. You're there to teach them morals, give them guidance and all. And so the world, if you just go out into the world and you could do whatever you want and you think that there's not going to be any kind of repercussions, then you're setting them up for failure. You're setting them up for entitlement. Mm-hmm. And when we see all these kids that feel like they just deserve stuff and complaining about that,
they walk around with tiki torches.
Yeah, even the tiki torches or the kids in colleges that's like rioting because somebody's speaking. All of that. All of that comes from people, and they talk about snowflakes and people wanting a safe space. That's because their parents is out there not teaching them discipline and understanding that the world ain't gonna be there for you all the time.
But that's even in the hood, though. You understand what I'm saying? Because in the hood, it's the same way too. You got these young kids out here straight cold wilding. None of them. They all come from like single parent homes. Mm-hmm. Especially because I still live in the hood. Mm-hmm. Right. Even though yes, my hood is changing. My block is one of the last.
You gentrified?
Yeah. It's not. Harlem been, changing up. You know what I'm saying? But my block in particular is.
Y'all about to get a Whole Foods and an Apple store?
We already got that.
Okay, there you go.
Nah, the block is official.
Gentrification complete.
My block, my block is like the last block in Harlem I could say that's really getting a fine tune from what it was some years ago and what it was back in the days. But still in all, you still got the elements. You still got young kids still out there wilding. I don't mean to put anybody's business out there, but
speak on.
I just heard, my wife, she was having a conversation with, a friend, and she was just saying that, a young blood got life in jail. Like, life in jail. Young boy. Like, could be got life. Come on, man, that shit's crazy. Like, it's not even just in the like these parents, like the rich parents and all that. It's just these kids, man. Like if you don't get into their ass at a young age, they grow up to be monsters.
Because they're not respecting authority.
Yeah, they grow up to be monsters. Whether you come from the rich or the poor communities. They just grow up to be monsters, and you gotta shut that shit down, man. When they 3 years old, hold on, you gotta shut that down when they like 3. That's why I tell my wife, and she says like I get adamant about it, but I'm not playing about it because I said I refuse to be sitting here when our daughter turns 15, and because I know she's gonna be tall, and she's not gonna sit, turn around and give us her ass to kiss when we tell her she can't do what she want to do. I'll break her down just the same way I break her down when she's like 3 years old, and I don't care who feels any kind of way about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't. My wife, she'll say the difference, like no, even though she backpedals. You know what I'm saying? Listen, wife, sometimes you be backpedaling because her kid, like it comes a time, it's a straw. It's a straw that broke the camel's back. Like, nah, I can't let you get away with murder. You understand what I'm saying? But all the parents need to be like that, and parenting is a fucking hard job, whether it's on the father's side or the mother's side.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But we we as fathers, we get the backlash because we just be whipping, bossing, we out skis. You know what I'm saying?
So wait, hold on, because you just did some hand gestures. So this is
my bad.
Whipping and busting. Yeah.
My bad. You know what I'm saying?
No. The hand gestures is fine, but for someone listening, they're like whipping and busting. What the hell is this dude talking about?
All right.
So he's talking about
having sex.
There you go.
You know, so you having sex with these girls out here, men. I'm talking to you, men. I'm talking to you, young bloods, even you old heads. Yo, y'all laying down with these ladies. Y'all creating life, and then y'all skipping out. And when you do that, you're putting a woman in a very vulnerable situation. You're putting her in a dangerous situation too, because she has to not only fend for herself, but she got to fend for her child, and she can't do everything. And life is outside of that. It's cold. It's cold with these kids, man. Like, I see it every day. I worked in a high school for 3.5 years. I'm talking about kids that I didn't even know that were in shelters. And I'm like, damn. My wife, she's involved with all of that. She involved with the kids. She worked as a youth development counselor with 15, like with teenage girls and all of that stuff. She come home and tell me the stories, and I'm like, damn. Like, fathers really need to be in their kids' lives, man. We need to straighten up. You know what I'm saying?
Because wait, hold on. Y'all gonna cook, but we gotta wrap it up.
All right.
So everybody cook. So cook. Because we gotta wrap it up. All right, go ahead.
I'm just go to your point real quick about what you said about the boys. My mom's a principal for elementary and a junior. They be the babies. You see these babies that like they don't have like a father figure. They be bugging out and hear stories about like kids. This is what 2018, right? 2017, 2018, and it's kids living in abandoned buildings because they parents is wilding out, they beefing with each other, so then it becomes about the parents and not the kid. So these kids is like taking themselves to school. I'm talking about babies. I'm talking about high school. I'm talking about like elementary school kids like, out here. They don't have no direction.
Some wire type shit.
And it's crazy out here. And this is right here in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't no backcountry stuff.
And this is why fathers. This is why this is needed. This is why 36 chambers of fatherhood is needed. We gotta get. As his fathers, we gotta level up.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. We have to level up,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't just leave our children, our namesake out there in the cold like that, and just have them fend for themselves. That's why you have a lot of these kids out here doing reckless, things. You know, they don't know how to especially with the boys. Boys don't know how to communicate with women. You know, they get older, they start talking reckless. Going out there having sex with a bunch of girls and stuff, get one of them pregnant. I ain't dealing with that.
Yeah,
like it's
all
nothing.
Part of the cycle.
Like it's nothing.
It's
you know what I'm
cycle,
saying?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
leaving another generation of kids out there to grow up to be reckless. You know, that's why I said these dads need to get in their lives. They need to put a foot in their kids' ass. I don't care how.
I'll give you a single shot for that one. You got a single shot now.
Yeah. I don't care how, people feel about, oh, that's wrong. You just talk. Nah. You've seen Tom and Jerry. I know Tom and Jerry's a little bit, that's
a little old school.
It's a little old school, but there was one episode where Jerry gave Tom a brush. Yeah. Jerry gave Tom a brush to whip his little, I think it was nephew ass, B. Because
the nephew was wilding.
Yeah, because he was wilding.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? The mouse game said, here's a book. But when he opened the book, it was a brush. Your man Tom's like, bang, bang, bang. Some of these kids need that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I hate to use that old school reference, but yo, that's the real. You can't be, go over there, go in your room and have a time. These kids like to be in their room. You know why? Because they got the phone, they got the tablet. They can lay up, watch Netflix.
But there's a way.
Where's the lesson?
There is lessons behind that.
Where's the lesson, school?
And to tie that into what we all pretty much said is yes. I'm pro spanking when it's needed. At a point. So How Steve does it, yo, I'm gonna record you saying this, and if you mess up, it's gonna happen again. How you may dish out a warning, how I may dish out a warning. How Josh says, yo, hey, listen, yo, would you do that around your mother?
Right.
So I think we're all, yeah, that was a good one. So I think we're all pro discipline, and you know, it's not just we're not just beating our children. It's you know, at some point in time, the lesson is going to have to be, you know, taught after the spanking. So to wrap things up, I want to thank everybody for listening to 36 Chambers of Fatherhood. We thank you for that. We want to do episodes talking to you dads. So if there's a situation that you're going through, whether you're a single dad, whether, you know, you won a case, you lost a case with your child, we even spoke about we wanted to speak to deadbeat dads, you know. We just want to know about your story. We're not obviously.
Don't downplay. I want the deadbeat dads to come on there because
Yeah,
I want to hear their side of the story.
We want to hear your side of the story.
Why
are you a deadbeat? Why do you think it's okay? Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, if we get them on, maybe we shouldn't use the word deadbeat, but
hey, yo, you're a deadbeat. What do you want?
You're a deadbeat.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and they're proud of it. They're like, yo, deadbeat.
I'm a deadbeat, yo.
Get him in here.
A lot
Like,
of people justify it. They be like,
and warm it up.
Exactly.
Get in
my
here.
mother is crazy, so I can't deal with this.
Let's get him in here.
Exactly. So we want to talk about
But the lesson is, you know, real quick, the lesson is, if we do get those kind of gentlemen in here, have them speak their piece, but at the same time get some sort of resolve so they could, the light bulb could come on upstairs and be like, hey, I do got to take care. I do got to get out here and take care of my kid. I'm only saying that because I was almost that person.
Yeah.
I almost was the quote unquote deadbeat until I met my wife, and you know.
Yeah, we're not gonna put a dunce cap on your head and say, "Yo, this guy's a terrible person."
No,
we just want to talk to you, want to listen to you, and
Yeah,
also because when we threw out that pilot out there was a few women that raised their hand and say, "Can I speak on behalf of my situation as a single mom and kind of understand that situation as well?" Okay. And just so we're clear, single mothers aren't dads, so let's just leave it at that. Yeah. But exactly, and mothers are needed, and definitely 100% fathers. Don't let it the CNN twist your mind thinking that dads aren't needed in this life. Dads are 100% needed. But at the same time, we talked about disciplining our kids. Can we talk about our proud dad moments as an episode 2?
Yes, we can.
Absolutely. We're proud dads. We're proud fathers.
Hey, I want to say one more thing on this, and it's more like a question to leave the audience with, and they can ask themselves as it relates to corporal punishment. If the point is to teach the child discipline and to teach them to follow and respect authority, are we teaching them to conform to the higher ups in the sense that, you know, if it's all about discipline and it's all about respecting authority, can they really grow up to be an individual and stand on their own instead of just succumbing to whoever's in power? So something to think about.
Steve hitting us with that enlightenment. So everybody, give yourselves a round of applause. We're ending the first episode of 36 Chambers of Fatherhood. Yo, we'll catch y'all next week. All right, peace.
Yo, this episode of 36